Okay, great. Well, welcome. And yeah, it's really moved into summer here. It's a bit slightly, what's the word? It's like slightly thrown me, I have to say. Because like 2 weeks ago, it was like raining like crazy, and now it's really hot. So we're going to start actually in a kneeling position or cross-legged. I'm going to suggest kneeling. Just that maybe will allow you to bring the spine more towards the vertical. So I just mentioned in the What's Up group that I wanted to work the spine and the upper body, and I realized it's definitely, when I was thinking about the class today, it's definitely a sequence which I would tend towards in my teaching if I'm not thinking, about doing something more specific. So, but actually it's turned out slightly different, the sequencing, than I would do normally. Maybe partly as a response to working online. But we are going to start sitting. So I'd like you just to set yourselves up in a comfortable kneeling position. So make sure there's some padding under the knees if necessary. And because we're going to start to warm up the upper body with some simple movements. Okay. Maybe you could just rest your hands into your lap or onto your thighs. Release the arms. Close the eyes for a moment. We'll spend a minute or two opening up to our body experience. So depending on the activity of the last days or today, you're going to feel more or less connected to your physical experience, to your body, what's going on. Last few days I've been doing a lot of well, for me anyway, quite hard physical work, moving things around, and it is physical, but there can also be a tendency to disconnect in a sensitive way from the body, which I don't think is helpful, right? So you can end up with injuries and all that kind of thing. So what I'm going to propose we start to cultivate now is a more sensitive connection with the body, as feeling full as possible, kind, full as possible, developing as much kindness, gentleness as possible. So getting a sense of how the body is overall. And also connecting with the heart center. You could just ask yourself for a moment, how am I? How am I? So getting a sense of the space around you, the room, physical space, sounds. And being aware of this space that we're going to be practicing yoga in. Connecting with your breath. Going to next exhale, opening the eyes. Then we're going to open the arms as though like two wings. So you'll be familiar with this movement. And then we tuck the fingertips back over onto the tops of the shoulders. We start with a very gentle, small movement. We're going to go in both directions. So just choose one direction. Starting to circle the elbow. And then you can start to expand this circle, bringing the elbows, forearms forwards. Take the gaze towards the horizon. Letting the movement be fairly free and connecting with what's going on in your body. So you may find with time, the elbows can come together in front of you and you can open the chest. Obviously, the elbows are not going to touch behind you, but you can move the elbows back. And then again, reducing the circle. And then switching direction. Starting off small. Again, the gaze going up towards the horizon. Feeling into the upper back, into the shoulders. Opening the circle as wide as is possible. Allowing the elbows to touch, if they will, in front. And then very slowly bringing the circle back into a center, to a point, and extending your arms out. Relaxing the arms for a moment, once again onto your thighs, into your lap. Connecting with the sensations through the upper body, through the arms. So we are going to focus somewhat on the upper body. Okay, and then extend the arms again. And going to do these little circles. So the circle stays small and we're going in one direction. Keeping the arms firm, extending out, lengthening out, the gaze out towards the horizon. It's a small movements going to engage the muscles around the shoulders. So it might start off really easy, but it will build up in terms of intensity. You can aim to move towards like 30. I'm not counting, right? I'm just going to listen to how the body feels. At some point, you're going to start to notice tiredness creeping in. So feel free to take a pause, just remembering which direction you're going in. See if you can let the tops of the shoulders drop away from the ears. A sense of neck long. That's just enough for me. Oh, and then extend the arms once again out. If we can go in the opposite direction. Small circles. Sense of lengthening from the center of the chest out towards the thumbs, the center between the shoulder blades out towards the little fingers. When you're ready, pausing again and to caress, relax the arms down. Rest the hands, you can even close the eyes for a moment. Focusing in to the sensations around the body. So yeah, we are trying to, with yoga practice, refine our attention, not just push into the practice in a willful way, although that might happen. Let's see if we can refine, build up sensitivity. Extending now the arms forwards. Again, this will be a familiar position. We're going to take the right elbow inside the left. Let's see if we can wrap the forearms. Okay, eagle pose. And then with the inhale, we're going to gently lift the elbows, including the chest. On the exhale, there's a sense of drawing the elbows down, even looking down towards the navel, curving the upper back. And repeat, inhale, taking the gaze up. Exhale. Looking down, even towards the belly. Inhale, looking up, lifting the elbows up. One more time. Exhaling down. The next inhale, we're going to bring the elbows about level with the shoulders. And we're moving the forearms away from you. So this is intensive around the upper arms, deltoids. See if you can bring your forearms perpendicular to the floor. So it's like away from the face. And the elbows lifting and then releasing down. Take the arms out, wide open out. And reconnect. This time the left elbow goes into the right inner elbow area. On an inhale, lifting the elbows, lifting the gaze, lifting the chest even. Exhale. Drawing down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale. We're drawing the elbows down towards the belly or into the chest. Inhale, lifting the chest. One more time on the exhale. And bringing your elbows again level to the shoulders, the forearms away from the face area. Breathing now. So you can release or broaden the tops of the shoulders down away from the ears. Okay, and then releasing the arms down. Okay, so we're going to come off the seat, whatever you're sitting on, come into, so I'm going to face this way. Hopefully this is going to work. I was trying this out earlier, so I ended up crashing into the wall if I didn't go this way. So coming into child's pose, I'm going to do a very gentle sequence in terms of sun salutations. So we're not going to come into the Shalabhasana version and the 8-point pose that we've been doing. So I'm just going to see if this works. On an inhale, you come into all fours. Exhale. On the inhale, you're just going to swing the hips forwards, but you don't let the hips drop down too strongly. Okay, so we're not pushing. It's more like just allowing the hips to come forwards. Exhale, swing back. into child's pose with the arms long. So let's just practice this movement a little bit. So on the inhale, we're swinging the hips forward, but I don't want you to compress strongly the lumbar spine, so the hips don't drop too strongly down towards the floor. In fact, the hips can stay quite lifted off the floor. Exhale back. So I'm doing this as like a gentle alternative to the sequence that we've been doing, the 8-point pose into Shalabhasana. So coming into a very light back bend extension. One more time, inhaling, swinging forwards. Exhale, this time I need to tuck the toes under and lift the pelvis into dog pose. Inhale, coming into all fours to add in the dog pose. Exhale, release back to child's pose with long arms. Inhale, you swing forwards, being careful not to compress the lumbar. Exhale, tucking the toes under, lifting the pelvis. Dog pose. Inhale, all fours. Exhale. Child's pose, long arms. Inhale, swinging forwards. Careful not to compress the lumbar, the gaze forwards. Exhale, dog pose. So I'll just let you explore these 4 movements, 4 positions. All fours back into child's pose, swinging forwards into this gentle extension. Exhaling back into dog pose. At your own rhythm, okay? Inhale into all fours. Exhale. Child's pose, long arms. Inhale, swinging forwards. Careful with the lower back. Swinging back into dog pose. And down into child's pose. Do that 2 more sequences, 2 more cycles on your own breath. With the breath. So we're exhaling back, basically inhaling forwards. Looking for smooth transitions. Last time coming up into dog pose. And then when you come into dog pose, I'd like you to pause there. Separating your feet, hip width, pushing back from the hands. So we're all in dog pose together. And then we're going to walk forwards, walking the feet towards the front edge of your mat. Exhale, folding into your legs. On an inhale, lifting the chest so the arms can stay low. And coming into standing. I like to separate your feet a little bit wider. So sort of shoulder width rather than hip width. Take the fingers interlaced behind you, projecting the arms back, the backs of the hands towards the floor. Bending your knees, so you're sinking the pelvis, bending the knees. Engaging the arms strongly, so it's like the arms are pulling away from each other. So it should feel like you're pulling across the front of the chest, lifting the sternum, bending the knees, and we're going to fold over the tops of the hip bone, as it were, the trochanter, and then release your head down, allowing the arms to flow towards the floor, but we're keeping the arms actively lengthening. Backs of the hands away from you, fingers interlaced, noticing which index finger is on top. Okay.
Breathing there. See if you can now explore straightening the legs and allowing the upper body to hang. Still projecting through the backs of the arms. We're going to release the fingertips now towards the floor. Walk back into dog pose. I'm going to move around this gentle vinyasa, which we could call a sun salutation, but more like a vinyasa. So back into child's pose. We're going to swing the pelvis forwards very lightly, as though we're moving into Bodhiyoga-17. Exhale, back into dog pose. Once again, walking your feet forwards, hip width, exhaling into your legs. Inhale, lifting the chest, spine long, arms down, coming into Tadasana. Once again, separate your feet shoulder width, okay? Just to create a little bit more space in the pelvis. Interlace the fingers behind you now with the other index finger index finger on top, projecting the arms away. So you're engaging across the upper chest, like opening across the upper chest, the shoulder blades moving towards each other, staying grounded, shoulder blades moving down, bending the knees. And then from there, we're going to release once again, forwards over the tops of the legs. Maybe your belly comes towards your thighs. And then releasing the arms down, but keeping the arms long. So I'm projecting towards the backs of my hands. Connecting here with the sensations. Does it feel different with the other index finger on top? Breathing. Exploring straightening the legs. So without, as it were, threatening the lumbar area. So if it's easier on your lumbar to keep the knees releasing a little bit, do so. Head releasing. On an exhale, we're going to release the fingertips down to the floor. Walk back into dog pose. On an inhale or force, exhale, child's pose with long arms. Just gentle swing forwards, being careful to stay mindful of not compressing the lumbar. Back into dog pose. And breathing there. So we're going to interlace some standing poses. So I like to turn your left foot in a little bit. So it's like bringing your heel in. Just your right foot comes forwards between the hands and then you swing up carefully. Hands onto the hips facing towards the short edge of your mat. Breathing then, we're going to extend, or rather drop down into the front leg to bring it toward a bent front leg, to the right knee over the ankle. Lifting the gaze. Keeping the back leg strong. So you feel that work across the pelvis. And we'll take the arms forwards, palms together. And then open the arms in the cactus position, as we call it. So the shoulder blades moving down the back, broad across the chest, also across the back of the chest. Back leg firm. I'm just going to see what's going on here. That's it. That's it. So, like, the challenge here is to see if you can drop a little bit lower in the pelvis. Obviously, that takes the work more strongly into the pelvis. From there on, exhale, we need to look down and swing down. Bring your hands to the floor. Step back, dog pose. Very gently moving around this cycle. Knees to the floor. Hips back, long arms. Very lightly swinging forwards, gentle with the lumbar, exhaling back into dog pose, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. So your right foot turns in. That's more like you swing your right heel in, and then your left foot steps forwards. And we carefully come up. So it's working with the legs, grounding the front foot. Hands can rest on the hips for a moment. Exploring dropping down into the space for the warrior pose. And then extend your arms forwards. This is just to bring awareness into dropping the tops of the shoulders, keeping the chest broad. So the arms forwards, and then we're going to open the arms, keeping the shoulders low. Palms can face forwards or in towards each other, it's up to you. The gaze lifting a little bit over the horizon, a little bit higher. Back foot, back leg active. Breathing now. So thinking about or feeling what's going on in the upper body. So we're looking to broaden, almost like elbow to elbow, inner elbow to inner elbow, outer elbow to outer elbow. So we're opening that space between the shoulder blades, in the chest. At the same time, it's a stimulating pose, quite a powerful pose, quite open, and you've got all that work going on in the pelvis. From there, on an exhale, tipping forwards, we're grounding the palms, step back into dog pose. Obviously, dog pose is weight bearing, it's bringing work into the upper back and the upper arms. Inhaling into all fours, dropping to the knees. Exhale, long arms, so keep the arms long and active. Just gently touching the head to the floor. Inhaling, swinging the pelvis forward. Really mindful of the lower back. Exhale, dog pose. And switching to the other side. So the left heel swings in a little bit. Right foot comes forwards. Hopefully that's right. Coming up. We're going to do both sides. So if I've messed that up, don't worry. Okay, so the position now. So we're going to interlace the fingers around the back of the body, just as we did with the Uttanasana. I'm going to project the backs of the hands away from you. Project the backs of the hands away from you. Opening the chest, taking the gaze forwards. Now we're going to intensify this. So we're going to tip forwards over the leg, even bringing the belly down to the thigh. It's actually easier to do than it looks. Okay, so you're going to move the arms forwards, emphasizing that work around the shoulders. My chest is actually resting down onto the thigh, so I'm not in a really deep front leg bend. Breathing there. You can relax the neck. Back leg is firm. And then release the fingertips down to the floor. Dog pose. Okay, we're going to simply switch to the other side. So the left foot comes forwards. Coming up, grounding through the left foot to come up. Hands to the hips for a moment. Interlace the fingers around the back of the body. Projecting, maybe change the interlace. So doing the side that feels less familiar. Extend the arms away from you. Opening the chest. And then as you tip forwards, you bend the front leg. Bringing the belly down towards the thigh. The side ribs down towards the thigh. The gaze you can release down towards the floor. Extending the arms up and over, as it were, forwards. So there's a lot of weight going into your front leg. Just see what's going on here. Breathing. Okay. And there is a challenge on the balance issue. So when you're ready, I'd like you to release your fingertips to the floor, step back, dog pose, inhale into all fours, and then we're going to take a rest. So now coming into child's pose, but threading your arms through in between the legs. That's comfortable, and resting the forehead down. Connecting with your breath, which for sure will be in a deeper cycle now. Breathing and releasing the exhale. Releasing around the shoulders and the arms. Taking 2 or 3 more breaths there. So feeling the ground. And on an inhale now, releasing the arms back into all fours. One more standing pose, okay? This is a challenging pose. It's got a mixture of toning and balance, okay? So coming up in, we're going to come into it from dog pose to dog pose. And I'm turning my left foot in. So feel free to switch sides, huh? Put your best foot forwards, as it were. So I'm taking my right foot forwards. So generally, I find yoga poses easier on my right side. Though it's my more suffered side, okay? The right side of the body. Inhale coming up. Hands onto the hips. Okay, so what we're going to do now is release the arms down by the side of the body. In fact, they can be slightly active. And we're going to launch ourselves forward into a balancing pose. Over, so you can bring your back foot in and try to move towards warrior 3, but with the arms, as it were, down towards the hips. So you're lifting the back leg, looking down, breathing there, projecting through the arms, projecting through the lifting leg. And on an exhale, bend the front leg, hands to hips, dropping down to the floor, dog pose. Pushing back from the hands to the hips, to the sitting bones, stepping or moving in a little bit, your back foot, your right foot, in this case, my case, left foot forwards, coming up. So just going to watch what happens this time. So letting your arms down by your side with a little bit of action in the arms, as in slightly active arms. And then you're going to tip forwards and bring your back foot in at the same time and start to launch yourself, balancing over the head of your left leg. So it's strong on the left, standing on the standing leg, hip joint. Yeah, it's a strong pose. Lifting the back leg a little bit more, if it's possible. That's it, that's it. Breathing there. So it's toning, as it were, the back of the body really well as the standing leg is getting a lot of work. Well, actually, the whole body is getting a lot of work here. When you're ready, dropping the hands to the floor, release back into dog pose. Coming into all fours. And resting into child's pose, whichever child's pose you wish. Releasing for a moment. So I think it'd probably be good to revisit that. So before we rest too much here, so coming into all fours, dog pose. So you're going to put your, as it were, your best foot forwards. Okay, coming up. So let's just try that on our own breath, okay? So see if you can find a way in as gracefully as possible. So it may be helpful to shorten the stance before you come into the pose. Lifting the back leg, the pelvis is aiming to stay level. Whereas it's quite difficult to know what's going on because you can't see. I'm just going to have a look. So it's a variation of the classic pose. So the classic pose is you take the arms forward, but it gets more intense all round. When you're ready, dropping the hands to the floor, dog pose. Switch sides. Arms very lightly active down by your side, maybe shortening the distance. So it definitely helps to coming gently, balancing the leg, the back leg with the front of the body, with the upper body. Breathing there. Arms more or less hip height. Extending the back leg actively. You need to keep that front big toe down. When you're ready, coming out and into dog pose. Great. From there, inhaling into all fours and resting for a moment into child's pose. This time, yeah, we're going to stay there. Resting into child's pose. Softening around the shoulders, really surrendering to the floor. So now comes a little sequence, which we are going to focus more on the, as it were, the paravertebrals, the spinal muscle chain. So on an inhale, coming into all fours, and on exhale, dropping onto your front, onto the floor completely. But I'd like to bring your hands in, slightly forward of the elbows. And then bring your feet into the center line. So it's like you're gathering yourself up into the center line, the elbows moving towards each other. So in preparation for like a Shalabhasana position. And then we're going to do Shalabhasana alternating the legs. So as you inhale, you lift one leg and lift the gaze. And as you exhale, you release down, forehead down, foot down. And switch to the other side, keeping the elbows tucked into center line. Inhale. Looking forwards, reaching back. Making these a smooth action, smooth movements. Just powerful but small movement. Looking forwards with the inhale, lifting the back leg. So we're just alternating legs here. Elbows tucking in. Moving from the breath. So as we inhale, lengthening through the front of the body towards the gaze. Much from the pubic bone through the throat area to the gaze. And lengthening from the pubic bone to the top of the foot. Alternating legs. Almost like a sense of swimming, but out of the water. In a sense, it's more powerful for that reason. So we haven't got the flotation coming from the water. It's working against gravity. Elbows tucking into the center line. And when you're ready, coming into rest, swing back into child's pose. And rest there. Resting the forehead down. So yeah, you can rest the forehead onto the hands, to the floor. You can turn your head to one side. From there on, inhale, once again swinging forwards and belly down, chest down. So I'd like you to separate your feet now about hip width and also bring the arms forwards. So you're going to bring your arms towards about shoulder width. Maybe a little bit wider, the feet than the hips and the hands and the shoulders. So this is similar, but we're alternating. So it's, for example, lifting left and right, left leg, right arm. So on an inhale, I'm lifting right arm, left leg, looking forwards. On the exhale, I'm releasing down. So there's a coordination issue here. So then the opposite side, left arm, right leg going back. And I can use the down hand as a support and resistance to the movement. So as I'm lifting with the right arm, I'm gently pressing through the left arm. And likewise with the feet. There's a sense of lengthening from the foot to the hand to the foot. So I'm reaching out from the center to the periphery. So I'm creating a sense of length in the muscles as well as engaging them. Working very much at your own rhythm, okay? So, and doing as many repetitions as is appropriate. If you're feeling more tired, well, you'll do less. As it were, riding the breath, the rhythm of the breath. As we inhale, lifting and lengthening. As you exhale, releasing down. Lengthening from the center of the body. So for me, the center of the body feels like somewhere between the pubic bone and the solar plexus. When you're already coming into rest, and we're going to swing back into child's pose. Take a pause. Resting your forehead down. Relaxing the whole body, coming into an awareness of the whole body. Connecting with your breath. Also being aware of your experience changing, being one of change. Once again, coming forwards onto the belly. And so I was trying this out earlier, so it's definitely more intense, to go more compact position. So I want you to interlace your fingers and rest them behind the head. So the elbows, I'm actually resting down on the floor at the moment. And then bring, again, the feet back into the center line. So it's like, in fact, the feet together. So we can do this alternating feet as we did earlier, or both feet together. So we'll start with alternating feet. So the movement is, so it's intense on the upper back and the neck area actually. So on an inhale, you lift the head, lift the elbows, lift one leg. And then as you exhale, you release down. So it feels like you've got like this whole weight on top of the head, okay? And then switch to the other side. So we're not going to do quite so many repetitions, and you're not going to be able to look forward so easily, but try to take the gaze forwards, as it were, forwards along the floor, switching sides.
and not forcing us, so just exploring what you can or can't do. Maybe it really doesn't like this movement. So we're lifting the elbows, lifting one leg, we're alternating legs, we're working from the breath, keeping the feet in the center line. It's like breath, it seems like a really small movement, but it's just very intense. When you're ready, releasing and rest back. Child's pose. So if you don't want to keep resting the head down, you can also, as I've said before, rest back onto the heels. So the gaze is now out, might feel a bit more spacious. Generate quite a lot of heat in the upper body, thoracic spine, between the rib cage area up into the neck. Obviously, we're going to work the muscles that run off the thoracic down into the lumbar, into the pelvis. It's all connected like a chain. Okay, and then we'll come back down. So last position here, down into the belly. So again, bring your feet into the center line, so the feet together, hands around the back of the head. Maybe change the interlace, so which doesn't feel so familiar. So we're going to try lifting the legs together and the upper body together. So lifting the whole of the body together. On an inhale, so you can press the feet towards each other, lifting up. On the inhale, exhale down. Do that 3 or 4 times. And you're ready. I'm going to lift and hold. Just see what that feels like, holding for a few breaths, probably not very long, but do keep breathing. And release, and rest back onto your feet, either into child's pose or into sitting on the feet. Closing the eyes for a moment, releasing the whole body, releasing the shoulders. I'm going to move into a couple of poses now, which are more of a Yin-style, lengthening, stretching, drawing out. Okay, so I'd like to come into all fours and separate your knees now about hip width. Even I like to do this with the knees slightly wider than the hips. Feels a little bit more stable, the pose. Then I'm going to bring my right forearm down and my left hand forwards, and the elbows drop down. So my elbows are wider than the shoulders. And then I'm going to look underneath my right shoulder. So this is sometimes called quarter dog. The hips are slightly behind the line of the knees. So there's a sense of like dragging through the upper back or tractioning through the upper back. If you feel like you're, as it were, sagging too much in the lumbar, then you could just gently draw the belly in, just to create a sense of holding. If it feels like your lumbar spine is just collapsing completely and it doesn't feel okay, then you could draw in. Otherwise, explore releasing and, as it were, hanging from or through the shoulders.
So my head is turned underneath the folded arm. Connecting with the breath. So these poses held slightly longer with the intention to work down into the connective tissue. So allowing the body to release, to soften. Noticing where you're holding on. A sense of whole body awareness. So one of the benefits of slowing the practice down is that there's time to generate or connect with a broader awareness of the whole body, the emotions, a changing experience, as well as connecting with a quality of letting go in the body. Okay, on an inhale, just gently returning to all fours. We're going to take the cat-cow movement. So as we exhale, you're drawing the belly in, looking towards the belly, towards the pelvis. And on the inhale, rolling the pelvis forwards, the gaze goes forwards. And repeat, exhale. Coming back into a neutral spine. Yeah, the knees slightly wider than the hips, possibly. So now it's my left forearm comes down and my right arm comes forward. I drop both elbows down and I'm turning the gaze underneath the left armpit area. So I'm deliberately widening the elbows a little bit. So there's some weight going down through the head. But if that's uncomfortable amount of weight, what you can do is swing the hips back more. So there's more weight going back towards the knees and the hips and the knees rather than the head. Or if you want more weight going into the upper body, well, you bring yourself forwards more. Connecting with the breath. Just surrendering to the pose. Quarter dog, as it's called. It's a pose that we use in the Yin practice. The sense of releasing with gravity. Be sensitive to what's going in the lower back. So as I said, you can, I mean, personally, I quite like that sensation of, as it were, sagging. But if it doesn't feel okay, like it's not pulling on the lower back in the way that's desirable, then do adjust. Okay, you adjust by pivoting the pelvis back and drawing the belly in a little bit. The main emphasis is around the upper back, the underarm, around the shoulder blade. You can feel it around there. And then, so connective tissue, yeah, needs to be worked more slowly. And pose is a bit longer. Yeah, I'd like you to come up into all fours. A gentle cycle of cat-cow once or twice. With the breath, exhaling. Drawing into your center, inhaling. Like the cow looking at the moon. Okay, coming into all fours. So, God, this is quite an ambitious program. They always are. So I'd like to have a brick. And again, we've done this before, but it feels like an appropriate pose to do. So the brick I'm putting, I'll just show you more clearly. I've got my thumb underneath and my index finger on the outside. So you can go for the brick like that, or you could go for a wider brick, or it could be a book. Just helps to keep a sense of stability, or fixing the arms. Okay, so we then bring the forearms down and palms down, wrists down, tucking the toes under. So we're going to come up into preparation for peacock pose, Pincha Mayurasana. So we lift the pelvis and you press through the forearms. You're lifting away from the floor, the head is not on the floor, pushing back, breathing there. So if you want more intensity, you walk your feet in and resist with the upper back. So it's like as it were, the space between the shoulder blades is moving towards your feet. And your feet are moving forwards. Pelvis is lifting up. Okay, when you're ready, take a rest. Let's just do that a couple of times. So just take a rest. It's a really nice exercise to do in pairs where you get somebody to gently press between the shoulder blades. Obviously, we'd struggle to do that online. But you could ask somebody to, next time you do that pose, press between my shoulder blades gently. So it gives you some resistance. Okay. So let's try that again. So, maybe try without the brick. Okay. So you'll notice what the brick does. It stops the hands from sliding towards each other. If you're doing without a brick, you're emphasizing grounding the palms. So I'm going for about shoulder width on the arms, the forearms and the hands, lifting up. When you're ready, the wrists, see if you can keep the wrists down. The wrists, you'll notice, want to pop up. Forearms grounding. So it's almost like there's contradictory forces going on. So you're pushing from the forearms back up to lift the sitting bones. And then you're trying to walk your feet forwards. So that's gently, what that does is gently lift the sitting bones. So the head is lifted. Well, actually, you can look down towards the floor. You can just let the head hang, but it's not touching the floor. The head is not touching the floor. Okay, when you're ready, that's enough. So the timings with that really depends on your body. You're going to explore being in that longer or shorter amount of time. Okay. And then once you feel more comfortable, you can start to use a wall and kick up towards a wall, but don't be too close to the wall, okay? We won't do that now. Okay. And then, so coming into all fours. So we did this a couple of weeks ago. So this is like a side plank position. So I want you to come into all fours and then rest, turn. So you bring your hips down. You see what I've done there? I'm just going to show that again. So I'm in all fours and I'm swinging my legs to the right. So I'm bringing my left buttock down. I'm then going to bring my left forearm down. Right hand comes onto the hip. It's actually very easy this, okay? So then you're swinging up the pelvis. You're resting your feet onto your outer lower leg. Feet together.
and you're resting on your forearm. This is supposed to be really beneficial for the lower back, creating balancing imbalances, correcting imbalances on the two sides of the body. Breathing there. So the gaze you could take down or out to the side. And then when you're ready, you drop the pelvis down. Come back round into all fours. I'm in all fours. So in all fours, bring your knees together and then you swing down. So you can see that now from another angle. I'm bringing my right forearm down. Now I've got my left hand onto the left hip, right buttock down. And then all I'm doing is keeping the legs together and lifting the pelvis. So I've got weight going into the outer right shin and the right forearm. So it's not too complicated. So you're looking to create a sense of stability through the upper body. So you're lining up hip, shoulder on each side, and you're in the lateral position. Left hand resting on the left hip. Take the gaze forwards or down. Gentle with the neck. Keep breathing. Sense of creating a stability in the pose. When you're ready, so you're dropping your right buttock down. Bring the hands to the floor. We're swinging round into all fours. Was that clear? I think so. Yeah. Okay. Good. So moving on. Yeah. So I wanted to do a couple more passive poses. So it would be helpful to have a bolster or like a really deep rolled blanket. So if you haven't got a bolster, you just go for a really deep rolled blanket, okay, which would be just as good. So you end up with something like that. And then have some support for the back of the head. I'm going to start with 3 bricks. So this is more like a passive lengthening of the upper back, passive extension of the upper back. So you're going to bring the bolster to the lower thoracic vertebra. So it's not into the lumbar, it's definitely on the rib cage. And it's like the lower section of the shoulder blades. The legs you can bring into Baddha Konasana, so feet together. Or if you want the legs to be more quiet, you can just cross the legs or have the legs extended. Okay. And then the arms, we rest out to the sides, but above the line of the bolster. Got this issue with the wall here. You could also rest the arms actually above the head, as long as you can rest the arms. It's important to rest the arms, okay? So you want to support the hands. Yeah, that works for me. So I'm resting the hands behind the head. You can take the support away as is appropriate for the back of the head. What you do want is a feeling that the neck is not just, it's not getting stressed excessively. I'm going to close the eyes. This is what we could call a passive extension of the upper spine. Working with gravity. So a bolster is really helpful for this kind of pose. A firm bolster, that is. Or a rolled blanket, go for deep rolls. So you can play with this pose. You obviously, I'm sure you've done this so many different ways. Connecting with you can even use bricks. I had a student on this weekend who said she liked doing it with bricks. I mean, personally, I find the bricks a bit intense just because of the edges for the back, but you could try that as well. So closing the eyes, allowing your body to really soften into the position. Obviously, we're going for a sense of opening in the front of the body. Allowing your breath to move into the thoracic area. Allowing the body to calm down. Connecting with your experience, the whole body again, as well as any specific sensations arising. So noticing if there's a sense of tension or even uncomfortable sensations. So the invitation is always to move towards the whole of your experience, not just the bits that you like or the pleasant bits. Also moving towards any sense of resistance or unpleasantness or difficult emotions. Okay, so yeah, this is a kind of pose you could easily spend 15 minutes, no problem. So we're going to very carefully come out. So I don't want you to sit up. What I'd like you to do is to bring the soles of the feet onto the floor and slide towards your feet. So it's not an abrupt movement. So you're sliding towards your feet off the support and then remove the support out of the way. And then come into semi-supine for a moment. Allow your spine to come into a more neutral shape. Okay, then from there, rolling to one side. I'm going to do one last pose, which is more passive style pose. So I'm going to try to, I think we've done this before. So maybe useful to have a brick around at hand. So it could be described as like the eagle pose, but where you lie onto your arms. So one way in is to cross the arms in front of you, and then you bring your elbows down. So they may need to come higher or lower, depending on your chest. Okay, so I've got my arms. Does that make sense? I've got my elbows underneath me, so they might be up more towards my throat area, and then you lie over your arms. Okay, so you might have a brick for your head, or the head might rest onto the floor. So it's an intense stretch for the outer arms. So you're threading one arm in one direction, the other arm in the other direction, that crossed arms. I'm relaxing the belly into the floor. If
pubic bone, legs relaxed, and just savoring the intensity around the upper outer arms. Observing which arm you've got on top. Relaxing your face, your forehead. Okay, and then from there, so what I quite like, one way of coming out of this is to roll. It's going to be obvious which way you've got to roll. Okay, I've got my left arm on top, so I'm going to roll to the left to come out. So, and then, so I have my left arm on top, so I'm going to switch sides. So it's now my right arm on top. It's strangely comfortable this time. It's not necessarily a very comfortable position to be in. So setting yourself up on with the other arm on top, as it were, higher up, and savoring that work around the upper arm. So I'm noticing it as well in between the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades are being pulled away from each other. And checking through the rest of your body. So checking in on the belly. If you can relax the belly towards the floor, front of the pelvis, pubic bone, around the area, the thighs, front thigh. Connecting with your breath. And again, we're sustaining the pose a little bit longer to allow it to penetrate down into the connective tissues, which are this material which is ubiquitous. Interestingly, you find it in every part of the body. So it's something that connects the whole body into a sense of wholeness. And then to come out, so again, if you're right, my right arm is on top, so it's going to make sense to roll towards my right. Yeah, that's right. And then I'm looking up. That's one way of coming out. And then we're going to come up into a supported seated position. My God, the time.
has flown. So we're gonna go into meditation for 5 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna suggest that you, in your own time, you do some Shavasana. Okay. So setting yourself up into a meditation position. Okay. Yeah, Sylvia. Yeah, I can imagine that last pose. You may need to move. Yeah, I can just imagine the chest area could get a bit uncomfortable. So maybe one would, experiment with it. Maybe putting some blankets and protection there for the chest area. Could feel a bit uncomfortable. I've had that said. Yeah. Maybe if it doesn't work for you, then just leave that pose out. It's interesting. It's basically what we did at the beginning, like the eagle pose, but with gravity. Okay, so I'd like you to set up in meditation pose and feel the body. So we'll carry on with this sense of tuning in with the whole body. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit broader. Well, that's my feeling right now. It's like broader across the shoulders, a little bit longer, less compressed. But at the same time, yeah, being aware of any difficult or unpleasant sensations or emotions. So the invitation is to bring it all in, all on board, into the light of our awareness. So once again, taking in the space around you, sounds. And allowing your spine to find the vertical axis. See if you can soften the shoulders, soften around the neck. Allowing your spine to grow. Where the crown of the head floating up. Releasing the arms, releasing the legs. Sense of poise, posture. And connecting with the sense of whole body awareness. Feeling the whole body. Getting a sense of your weight. Connection with the ground. Now connecting with the breath. So hopefully, I guess it's not guaranteed, but hopefully there's a sense of more sensitive, more, as it were, responsive attention to the body, to experiencing the body, than like an hour ago, hour and a half ago. What does that feel like? Getting a sense of the emotional quality of your experience. And then once again, being aware of this quality of anitya, change, sense of our experience is one of unfolding, flowing, changing. With the invitation to let go. Part of your awareness, you can include all of us in our various spaces. Connected through the internet at this moment in time. Maybe we can just send out a sentiment, as it were, a warm message of kindness to all of us. Each and every one of us be at ease, at peace, happy. But sending out a little flash of kindness, of light on the exhale. And on the inhale, being aware of each of us as we're drawing awareness in. And on your next exhale, that warmth, kindness, going out to the whole world. Everyone, everywhere. May they be happy. May they find peace. May they resolve their difficulties. And with the in-breath, take in all those beings in to your own heart. A sense of being grounded to the earth through your own body. Breathing out kindness, love. Breathing in all beings. Breathing out, sense of groundedness.
in your body, in the earth. So from there, I'm going to bring this meditation to a close, but I do invite you to rest down onto the ground for at least 3 minutes or 4 minutes if you can. Sustain that. Just rest down. Thank you very much for your assistance, presence. And see you in a couple of weeks. Next week will be salad. So do have a good week, and do have a rest right now, please. Farewell.